I'm Will Hedrick.
And I'm Jordan Schaffer.
And this is Dog Ears and Timestamps, a book club podcast.
We're reading it all day. That's all I got.
All right. Today, we're finishing Beacon 23.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I'm all about being done with it.
It's dude, honestly, I enjoyed the book, but it was, every time we stopped it, it was kind of hard to get back into it. For whatever reason, everything else seemed to grab my attention. It was like, all right, we're done with this segment of Beacon 23. Let's listen to some podcasts or whatever.
It was easy to just not be invested in it because everything is short form. Every chapter is very short and pretty self-contained, and then obviously it's in 5 different books that are relatively self-contained.
Yeah.
There is a main thread, of course, but you could take any one of these books and just read it and get a complete mini story.
Yeah, no, I did notice
so
that.
So it's easy to not be invested in like the whole thing. So I can definitely agree that it was easy to fall out of it and not be super ready to get back in immediately. And I'd be like, I have to read what's next.
Yeah. But it was fun. How did you read this week? Did you read it immediately after the show like last time, or did you?
I put it off until last night, actually.
Okay, nice. Cramming for the test.
Yeah. I don't really know why. I guess I was just let myself get caught up in a bunch of other stuff, and then last night I was like, well, shit. I guess I'll just fucking # no sleep club and just read this right quick. It took me about 2 hours, 2.25 hours. It was fine. I went to bed like at 4 or something like that.
Yeah. You're kind of a night owl anyway, so that probably didn't hurt too bad. But that 4 is later than normal. It's
later than my typical time that I'll go to sleep for sure. Without trying, I can stay up until 5, 6 o'clock.
Oh,
that's not a problem without trying. I usually have to at 2 o'clock be like, all right, it's time to go lay down and work on falling asleep.
Yeah.
It was up until like 4, and then I had to work this morning, so whatever. But yeah, it's I didn't read it until last night, and then obviously I did my notes at work today because we were slow enough that I could get away with it. So
nice. Yeah, that's going back to the same thing we said. I guess it got you too. It wasn't super like with fucking Neverwhere. I just like next thing I was like, I gotta know.
Yeah, and then I think another reason why Neverwhere, and probably also just with a longer form novel sort of thing as well, is that you get time to develop and care about the characters. Where I didn't care about it. I think maybe I started caring for Claire a little bit just because it's easy for me to fall in love with characters. Yeah. And Claire was already made into like this like ideal person or whatever.
For sure,
so I was like, okay, well I guess I by default care about Claire. I'm interested to see what happens with her. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really care about the protagonist. He was not that he was a bad character, but he just wasn't a character.
Yeah, he was just the vessel for the story, Yeah. And so when you were reading, do you read in bed? Dude, if I read in bed, I would not get through like fucking 2 pages.
I do a lot.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. But not every time, but definitely the majority of the time.
You got the Kindle White, so you don't need a light or anything?
The Paperwhite, I don't need anything.
That's cool,
with it.
That's cool.
That's why I chose it. It's super handy. You can read it in literally any lighting situation, except like maybe under like a surgery table light, Yeah. Like pretty much any situation, it works well and you can see it. You can be outside in the sun, sitting on a bench and reading without any issue.
Nice.
So that's why I bought it years and years ago, and it's still
running.
It's still really good. It's perfect. And if it ever gives out, that'll be the same kind of Kindle that I buy again.
Well, cool. What about your week? You read last night, so what did you do the rest of the week? Anything
what
happen?
What did I do? Nothing exciting, I don't think. I hit level 120 and WoW with my new character
you did.
Finally.
I didn't even know it went to 120.
That's what the new expansion that just came out.
I thought they bumped it up 10 levels every time. This one, they're just like...
They usually do. There was twice that they only bumped it 5 levels.
Damn, I bet 100 to 120 is hard.
It's not.
Oh. Never mind.
Right. It seems to change every expansion because as they change how things work, that has unforeseen effects on other parts of the game.
Oh, I
And
got
now
you.
that it's such a huge, expansive game...
Oh, God, it's big, yeah.
It's hard to know every single little thing. So right now, the hardest part to level, if you have a new character, for anybody out there that's interested, right now, the commonly agreed upon most difficult part to level is 80 to 90. Everything else is relatively easy.
80 to 90. Dude, WoW came out in like
16 years ago. No, it hasn't been 16 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude, I swear back in 8th grade. Yeah, it's 04, 05. I think it came out then because Mason and Chase were always talking about it.
2004.
Yeah, there we go. See, I got it.
But so dude, 14 years. Well, almost. Let's see. This would have been almost 15 years.
Nice, dude.
It'll be 15 years this coming year.
There have got to be people that are making money off of just their knowledge of World of Warcraft. That's kind of a cool facet of the world we live in. You know, people just making money off of knowing the thing with these sort of like so much.
These things that have existed for so long and that have so much, like a huge fan base and a large community and that sort of stuff. There's definitely probably any position that you can think of having, it exists out there, and there's definitely people that get paid just because they know so much about it because they write the wikis or whatever. You know.
I went and saw the movie. I enjoyed it. I mean, I was ready to see. It was fine. It was a fun movie. I was ready to see kind of a silly movie with some fun magic and big monsters and stuff. And that's what I got.
That's what you got. Good to go. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all that I did.
Nice.
Red Sox won the World Series.
Whoa. Wow.
That was the only other big thing that happened, I guess.
That's cool.
It was what was expected.
Yeah.
The Dodgers were never going to beat... Nobody from the National League was ever going to beat the people that were in the American League playoffs.
Oh, okay. Were the best or what?
Just the teams this year were super strong. Whether it had been Houston, the Yankees, or the Red Sox, which obviously ended up being the Red Sox, any of those three teams would have beaten anybody on the National League side easily.
Nice.
I think the only ones that might have been mildly scary might have been the Brewers, just because they were kind of a wild card.
Dude, is baseball in the Olympics? Probably because we win.
Not anymore.
Dang.
I don't think it is anymore, just because of time reasons. It would take too long to have like a tournament.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Or like the tournament would be only like such a little number of teams that why even bother?
Right, that makes sense. And then it's also you got to play like 7 games or whatever, like to determine a winner.
They would probably knock it down to like 3 or 5 game series. I mean, you know, what do I know about organizing sports tournaments? But what I would assume is they would knock it down to a smaller series. But yeah, I think that it used to be, and they stopped doing it because. One, there's really only like 3 countries that play it majorly, and then
Japan, right?
Japan, the United States, and then I say 3 countries, but then a lot of South America and Central America plays baseball. Mostly cool. Central America plays baseball, but nice. Combined, they probably make up the same population of baseball players that like the United States does.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyways, what was your week like?
It was kind of crazy, man. Somehow. The dog got out. Like, Bailey was come back to the house, and she went through one door, and so like we kind of have like a double door situation going on. Like when you come in through the garage, you open up one door, and then you're in the laundry room, and you got to open another door to get to the kitchen. Well, I had the pantry door open in the kitchen, so there was a third door in the way, and so she closed the pantry door so that she could open the second door, and then she closed the first door, and then in that amount of time. She didn't see her dog, Maddie, anymore, this 13-year-old dog that's like little bitty. And so she came in and said, hey, we talked for a little bit, and then we were looking for all the dogs because, we pottied all the dogs got to go potty. So, and then we're just like, wait, we're missing one. Oh, shit, where's Maddie? And so we ran around the house. We were calling everywhere, just like what anybody would do when they're looking for their dog. Couldn't find her. So then we went outside. We looked all through the garage, thinking maybe she just ran off in the garage somewhere. She's scared of one of the other dogs, so it makes sense that she might not want to be around. But, dude, it was crazy. So Bailey's mom comes, a few of her friends come, and we're searching the neighborhood. We're meeting all the neighbors. They're all really nice, actually, by the way. We're posting online, so like the day goes by, no luck, we're just hoping that she's going to come home. And then, the next day rolls around, I got to go to work, come back from work. We keep looking for the dog. It's daytime, so we think, she'll probably come out because, it'll be hot. She won't be cold from the night. She might come home. We called a pet detective. They told us a bunch of tips and tricks and stuff. And it just, that dogs know their scent, 3 weeks away. Anyway, long story short, Maddie was playing hide-and-go-seek inside the house underneath the cabinet with the silverware, apparently so we have all these spices underneath the silverware cabinet. She was hiding behind all the spices. First of all, I don't even know how she opened the cabinet. And then why she hid behind the spices for 27 straight hours without making a single sound is beyond me.
Right.
But that was fucking crazy, man. So thank God we found her. But, dude, that was a stressful little bit of time. It was like, dude, we just thought, she's 13. We thought she died. Probably not a snake, but something got her. I mean, she's
right, yeah. If she was out there, and it's where you're at up there in Pflugerville, you're not far from fields.
Right,
so
dude, yeah. So
there's definitely, like, other wildlife out there.
Dude, yeah, and we got other neighbors with big dogs that, like, might not take kindly to another dog coming in,
So
we were just
right.
like, we're going around everywhere, and just, man, it's just
you got neighbors in your back left corner that have a dog, and it will bark at your dogs.
Oh, yeah.
And then your dogs go over there and start barking
at it. They go ape shit for that dog.
Whenever I was watching them, every now and then I would hear the dog out there, be like, okay, well,
better come
we'll see what happens. And then all of a sudden, Effie'd be like, I'm going to go check it out.
Yeah, Effie's got a mean bark. But yeah, thank God. So we ended up finding, it was just really nice peace of mind, Okay, so she wasn't lost and cold. She was just hiding in the house. Frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we found her. So that was kind of my weekend. The week was just sort of a normal week. Just typical work, Mm-hmm. And then I didn't really listen to the book until Sunday, I don't think. No, Saturday. I was listening to the book a bunch Saturday. So I finished it, and then I re-listened to it today, and then I took notes on it today. And, yeah, dude, I don't know why. I just never, like we said earlier, it's hard to jump right back in. It's almost like, since it's in 5 books, I mean, it's almost like starting a new book again. So
right.
It's almost like a whole new endeavor.
Yeah.
But it's, it was fun, and it was good, and I'm glad we found Maddie, so that was nice. Right. But yeah, it was a good week. And then, dude, mortgage payments are rough. But
yeah.
Other than
You're
that,
a real adult now.
Yeah. It's so dumb. Anyway, other than that, all's well. And then, so it was a good book. And then the notes were kind of fun to take actually this week. I don't know why. I was having a good time taking the notes. As far as the reading went this week, I feel like the very last chapter, I guess because I had gone through all of his explanations and his
the last chapter or the epilogue.
Sorry, the last chapter, not the epilogue.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The last chapter, it kind of got me. I liked it. It was emotional enough, and we were so. We know how the protagonist thinks, kind of after all this time we've spent with him, and I don't know. It was cool just kind of going through his train of thought, and I really enjoyed that last chapter. Re-listening and taking notes was a lot of fun. I got a whole page of notes just from that because it was fun. Just listening, I was getting excited and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, it was fun. That was a cool chapter. Yeah. And that was that made the book for me basically. Yeah, I thought that chapter did pretty good. I mean, not necessarily the ending, but the chapter and the way he was talking, the writing for that was really, really good.
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it got me, I guess, because just like I had said, we'd spent so much time getting to know the guy, and we know how he thinks, we know how he feels about basically everything, we know what he bitches about, and
right,
so yeah, it's good though. But
I realized why I didn't read at all. It was because I was watching the World Series the whole damn time.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
why I didn't read until last night. Man, so Game 3, the first game in LA. Fucking on God, what was that now? That was Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that game for 7 hours and 20 minutes. It was the longest World Series game ever by both time and innings. It ended at the end of the 18th inning.
Oh Christ, dude!
That game went on forever. I sat down, put it on one screen on my computer, started playing WoW and doing other things on my other computer, and then I was also doing laundry and made dinner and stuff like that in between.
Yeah, no, you got to do the rest of your day.
But then 7.5 hours later, I was like, oh, the game's finally over. I can go to sleep.
Thank God it's over.
So that's why I didn't read, because I was busy with that.
Damn, dude, do they take a lunch break or anything?
Nah, just keep going.
Is that illegal?
There's a lot of records set in that game, different records tied, because other games have gone on for a long time. Like the Astros were in the previous to that game, the Astros were in the longest World Series game ever.
Dude, that was fun last year when we watched that. Dude, we went and saw Bill Burr, and then we started watching the World Series.
Well, it wasn't the World Series yet. That was the championship series against the Yankees.
Well, that was still dope.
That was still dope. That was a good time when we went downtown. But yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff, like pretty much every player play. So like you have like a bench of players and stuff like that, and sometimes they won't play, or sometimes they'll need to play if like get injury or whatever. 50 of 54 players that were eligible, including the bench, were played.
What? They're just so tired, bro.
Nathan Eovaldi, one of the relief pitchers for the Red Sox, went and threw almost 100 pitches, which is like something not even starting pitchers do sometimes.
Oh my god!
He came in as a relief pitcher, pitched 7 innings and 100 pitches.
Dude,
and it was incredible the whole time.
Dude, I didn't even throw the ball that long for the dogs, man. Like, dude, I throw like 10 pitches with the pitcher thrower. I got one of those lazy sticks that throws the ball for you, so you don't have to touch the slobbery ball.
Right.
Yeah, dude. Like, and that thing makes it easy to huck the ball across the yard. But like 100 times doing it with that would drive me crazy. Oh my god, man! And like,
well, starting pitchers will usually get up into the 90s before they retire for the day, or depending on a number of factors. But typically, your starting pitcher will pitch anywhere from 60 to 100 pitches, unless he's just on fire and you don't want to stop and give him the whole game, whatever it may be.
What's the injury?
But for a relief pitcher to pitch that much is absolutely unheard of.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. What do you blow out when you're pitching that much? Your shoulder?
Probably just the whole damn thing.
Dude, they throw with their whole bodies, man. Like Tiger Woods swings a club with his whole body, and that's why he threw out his back.
Yeah, it's destroyed his back. Yeah,
I bet that's probably what pitchers do too.
And Eovaldi's had 2 Tommy John surgeries to correct issues that he's had with his arm, and he's gonna have to have probably like another surgery at the end of the season, maybe, and things like that.
Dude, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, it was a crazy game. A lot of crazy things happen, and just kind of in that way.
I don't know much about baseball, but I do know that lefties are fun to watch pitch, dude. It does not make any sense to me at all.
The number 1 starting pitcher for the Red Sox is a left-handed pitcher, Chris Sale.
Oh god, he probably blows freaking minds.
He fucking has the craziest fucking slide where he comes out from, for the listeners at home, I'm swinging my arm out way to the left. He comes out from here and throws it in from the side, and it will travel like. They were measuring it one time. The width that it travels from him releasing to where it hits on the plate is like something insane, like 13 feet or something like that.
What?
So it's got this huge window that makes it extremely difficult to hit off. Obviously, that's why he's like a huge starting pitcher.
Well, dude, everybody's used to right-handed pitchers too. So just seeing somebody stand on the other side's got to be a bit of a mind.
Yeah, and that's part of like one of the problems with baseball that a lot of people have, not everybody, but there's so much analytics in baseball. Where like, well, left-handers are this much percentage more effective against whatever, and so there's like the Astros are really guilty of like overanalyzing everything. The Red Sox have been doing it. Speaking of which, how about fucking what's his goddamn name? The head coach for the Red Sox. This is his first year being a head coach, Alex Cora. And last year he was the bench coach for the Astros. Yeah. So he won the World Series as basically like second coach, and then went and became the head coach of the Red Sox and won the World Series.
Dang, son.
Both of those World Series ending in Los Angeles because the Dodgers were the other team in both those World Series. So he's like second coach, winning it in Los Angeles, comes back a year later with a different team as the head coach and wins it in Los Angeles.
Dude, it all comes back. Last week we were talking about conspiracies in sports, bro. This should just be a conspiracy.
Alex Cora just paid him.
A conspiracy podcast, bro. Let's just talk about sports conspiracies, right. and then we'll give you all a brief rundown on Beacon 23.
And then at the end of it, we'll give you 5 minutes of Beacon 23.
Now let's start. Chapter 25. Basically, starts with him falling for Claire, right?
Pretty much, yeah. It's just there's like some. This is where he gets like his resolution for all the stuff that he's been through.
All the crying they did last chapter.
Yeah, he does all that crying in that release. He gets over or figures out like a way to accept things that have happened and accept himself and how he can now start to move forward or whatever.
Yeah, there wasn't anything physical about the relationship other than them holding each other and then literally crying as hard as possible. And then, so, I mean, there's a lot of emotion.
It was just like a bunch of like huge, like built up release of emotion.
Oh yeah, a mega heart to heart.
Evidently on both their parts, I think there's a part where Claire says like, I might have needed that more than you or something like that.
And then he goes like, the old me would have thought like, nah, selfishly to myself, nah, no way. But now with Claire, I see Claire.
He knows that he's not the only like messed up one or whatever, which is something we touched on last week as well, I think.
Symbolism, Claire. She gives him clarity. It just clicked, bro. He did that on purpose. Writers do that. Just kidding. But no, they kiss. They do kiss. I know that, but that's more towards the end of the chapter. Right after they kind of do their crying, he kind of invites her, like, "Hey, you want to go sit up at the GWB? It's got a cool feeling." And they go, like, and what? So they go and they sit at the GWB, and she kind of like humors him. But well, I think she humored him last time because when he talks about the GWB this time, she's like, "That's not supposed to do anything, man. Like, I don't know what's going on." And then he leaves her beacon, and she gives him a little kiss, and I think he's fallen in love. And that was kind of the end of the chapter, right? Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And so then the start of the next chapter, chapter 26, is moving day. Claire is going to be going back to Houston. There's a transport and supply ship that is docked with Beacon 1529. The protag is upset, but accepting, talks about how, like, now he's accepting of people coming and going potentially in his life.
Yeah.
That happens. And so he's like, well, she's going back, and that really sucks, but that's the way that life goes, blah, blah.
He even talks about trying not to just focus on the fact that she's leaving, even though that's all he can focus about. He's like, why can't I just focus on the good weeks that we had instead of the one bad day of her leaving, And, which is a good way to think about it. It's to focus on the positive.
And then while he's thinking about all this stuff, the transport ship comes to his beacon to drop off some stuff, pick up some indisposable waste, stuff like that.
What do you think that is? Like poop?
Maybe, I don't
know. Non-recyclable waste, I believe.
It was something like that, yeah. Something that couldn't be, I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder
whatever that means.
I wonder what he's giving him a can.
Who knows what that means in space?
Yeah, it's space terms. Two cans of it though.
Yeah, for and also like in a self-sufficient structure.
Yeah.
Where it's not like I imagine it doesn't have like an aluminum recycling plant,
Right.
But anyways, so he is dropping off some stuff, taking some stuff, has a message from Claire. With that message is a bottle of WD-80.
In the same little bag that he gave it to her in. Kind of cute.
Yeah. And then in this interaction with the transport pilot, it's revealed that Claire's going to be the new operator of 1529, at which the protag is like, what? And runs back up to the high frequency radio so that he can go try to radio her.
That's too good to be true.
Yeah. Radios for Claire. She ends up answering. So, that. Yeah. And then the chapter ends with him presumably telling her that he loves her. It doesn't outright say it, but the last line is something like, and then I said something that I meant more than I had meant anything in a while, or something like cheesy like that.
And I mean, he had kind of been alluding to falling pretty hard and pretty quick. He was saying you can earlier in the book he was saying you can fall in love with, you can hate the moment you lift the gun and point it at somebody, but you can love the second you lower it. Like in I don't know. He said like love and hate come so fast and go so quick to him. I think that he fell in love, dude. You don't choose that kind of stuff. You just fall. And I think he was falling. Anyway, so that was the end of the book.
Also, everything happens super quickly in this.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it was set in book parts.
Yeah, like it has to happen quickly. There's no time for real development.
Yeah, and that was the end of section 4. And now we're on part 5 called Visitor.
This whole chapter is just symbolism and foreshadowing of the impending climax of the book. That's all that happens in this chapter.
Yeah, dude, it was a huge Garfield moment. Chapter 27 was just him bitching about Mondays. He's like, I hate Mondays. And there's not even like a Monday on this job. It's like all the same day, basically.
It's all just, it's all just symbolism talking about the idea of knowing when something bad is going to happen, or just even getting the feeling that something bad may happen, even if it never comes. Once in a while, you get that feeling.
That like sixth sense or whatever.
Whether or not it ends up being legitimate or not. But that's all he talks about, and giving a bunch of other examples just to fill out a chapter.
He came up with this theory called the relativistic weekend effect, which is basically saying that he didn't like Sundays because of the impending Monday and the rest of the week that was coming in school, but he did enjoy Fridays, even though he was stuck in school for the day. He knew a Saturday was coming, and so he called it the relativistic weekend effect. And then after he's thinking about all that dumb stuff, I believe a cargo ship, like he makes some trades, just some passing trades.
Talks about getting stuff from merchants and pirates and stuff like that. Some interactions
at the end of it, he talks about how he's in his lifeboat flying over to Claire's beacon, and these are the dark thoughts he has while he's going on a date because he's holding chocolate and flowers, and he's about to go on a date, and he's like, I'm having all these dark thoughts right before the.
Heard about the war.
Oh yeah, and he heard about the war. Yeah. Moving into Sector 8.
Yep, which is where they are at.
Yeah, we're in Sector 8, but now we're on chapter
28.
Exactly.
Protag is on his way to Claire's for date night. He thinks a lot about crying, how his dad cried when the dog died, and only then. Thinks about what that meant to him then and now, and then some more talk about the impending doom.
Yeah, dude, that was the first bit of that was just macho man. It's like, men don't cry. And then he's like, but Claire taught me to cry. And she taught me why my dad cried. You know? And, dude, that was a depressing story, too, about the freaking dad and the dog. I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's just a sad story about the dog dying, but, ugh. Yeah. Anyway, Claire...
So it's just reflection on like how he's grown and why now the things that he's learned now are helping him realize and understand things from the past.
Yeah, it seemed like he kind of forgave his father for not really like.
He thought that his dad never cried for anything, but he cried for the dog. Why is this more important than all these other things that happened?
Yeah, like the mom died, the son became like clean from alcohol, the daughter got married and moved to another planet. So it's like all these other big events and nothing drew a tear. Except for the dog dying, and so he was jealous.
He realizes that maybe it was just that everything just kind of came out at that one time. He was crying for everything, not just the dog. And so he's
straw that broke the camel's
back. Just has another view on it.
Yeah, so that's
that's all that happens to him.
Claire's super therapeutic. That's probably why we're able to fall for her as a character. I mean, I think in this, it was either at the end of this chapter or the beginning of the next one, but it says he basically has the picture perfect space life. It kind of like the Jetsons almost. It didn't say the Jetsons, but in my mind I thought the Jetsons. And he's got a really cool pet, a sweet little pet. Dude, I didn't catch this stat until today when I was listening to it. Do you know how heavy Cricket is?
50 kilos.
Dude, that's 120 pounds, bro.
Yeah. It's a big fucking dog.
Or 110 pounds. I don't know, 2.2 pounds per kilo. I know that, but I can't math right now, so.
110.
Yeah, 110. I was 10 over, so 110. And but he's got this dope pet. He's got a sick ass girlfriend. He's got his own house basically. He's got a shitty little whip. You know, he can get to his girlfriend's house. You know, he's got a ride.
Yeah, he's making a bunch of joke comparisons about how like he's got this ideal, sick home life.
Yeah, it's cute. I mean, they make dinner for each other and they hang out with their dog and it's fun. You know, and he gets her flowers from passing traders. I don't know how much money they're making, but they must. Dude, if they're making minimum wage even, they're not spending their money. Like, they're not spending it on anything, so. But anyway, that was the end of the chapter.
Yeah, chapter 29 is cuts to them after dinner or whatever. They're hanging out by her GWB. They've been doing this thing where she either has the beacon turned on or off and is trying to get him to guess correctly or incorrectly to see what his guess is, whether or not it's on or off, because she can't get over the fact that he thinks the GWB does something and she knows that it doesn't.
Yeah, we learned, I think, last episode we learned that she's a tuner. So she said she knows all the ins and outs of these beacons. So it doesn't make sense. We wouldn't put people in there if it messed with your head.
Right, yeah. And she knows all the, the book science behind the GWB. So she, also theoretically knows how it affects any given thing.
And I bet y'all can guess exactly how well he scored on the test, huh?
There's no reason anyone would be able to guess at this point.
Yeah. They tell us.
Well, they tell us, yeah.
Dude, you could guess instantly. I guessed. I was like, dude, he got a perfect score for sure. That's the only reason, they're doing the game is because they're telling us that it does, that he can sense it. At least I was guessing that. I don't know. Maybe that was just me just being wishful.
Maybe so.
Whether I was right or wrong, it didn't really matter while I was reading.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that being a reasonable theory.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. Just for whatever reason, I was like, he wouldn't have brought it up if it wasn't going to be a perfect score, or at least as close to perfect as, close enough for government work. You know what I mean? But anyway, so, that's
he
what
gets
happened.
it. Yeah, it turns out that he's got a perfect score, and so then they start speculating about it's no longer whether or not it is happening. Claire believes that he feels something, so now it's about what is making him feel that. Is it actually the GWB? Is it something that is only happening within himself that's a result of something that happened in the war or something like that?
It's just a mystery.
PTSD is something that they mention. So there's definitely something. He gets an effect from the GWB, whether he's creating it himself or something actually is coming from the GWB to him. is now what they are gonna discuss with each other, assuming that they have any time to discuss anything, because all of a sudden the proximity alert goes off.
I know, we should have called House before that.
House, like Dr. Gregory House?
Yeah, lupus.
It's always lupus.
Or an infection.
It's never lupus.
Anyway,
it was lupus one episode.
It's like the first episode. That's why everybody says it.
No, it was lupus like in season 7 or something. Oh, like really? That. It was like towards the end. He was like, "It's finally lupus."
Dude, I swear every time
he always guesses it's lupus because lupus has a lot in the same way that like if you go to WebMD and you type in any symptom, it'll be like, "Oh, you're pregnant," because in the same way that pregnancy exhibits in so many, in a wide variety of things, lupus also does that apparently.
Dude, have you ever looked on the label for those pills that girls take when they're on their period? Those pills,
no,
those pills literally cure everything. It's like headache, diarrhea, upset stomach. It's like, dude, if you have anything wrong with you, take one of these pills. I guess, dude. I don't know.
Heartburn in addition to upset stomach, diarrhea.
But it's also like a painkiller and like a fever reducer, like a. I just said like 15 times. Anti-swelling. You know what ibuprofen does? It makes like things not swell. Yeah, blood thinner. Yeah, dude, it does like everything. I was looking at the pills one time. I was like, dude, what the hell? I had no idea.
It's a miracle drug.
I had no idea that was going on when y'all were like that. That totally makes sense now. Like I'd be not having a good day either. But anyway, sorry. Visitors arrived and interrupted their little game of the GWB on or off game.
2 ships enter the general area out of light speed, and one of them immediately blows up because they enter together.
Chapter 30. That was the intro to Chapter 30. Explosion. It's pretty cool.
So what has happened is I guess like I briefly mentioned, 2 ships enter at the same time, a Navy scout, and right behind that a reef reaper is what he calls it, and they enter at the same time in the same location because they were like in a hyperspeed chase. The Reef Reaper is much bigger, so it wins that impact.
Dude, that is a better name too, man. Reaper? That's a dope name for.
Well, that's probably a name that humanity gave it.
Well, we gave it a good one. Reaper's
dope. You name alien stuff really cool stuff.
Yeah, we just do ours like the USS,
all the
Santa Maria. The Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. We're gonna go travel across the biggest ocean we know.
A lot of ship names were really cool in Star Trek, like the like Klingon warships were like there was like a bird of prey and stuff like that. I was like, man, these are really
like
cool.
Native American names or something.
That's cool stuff. What's
Sitting Bull?
What? Bird of prey.
I know, but I was just
nothing like that.
It sounded like a Native American name, so I was just making a joke.
It's a classification of bird.
Yeah, but come on.
Yes. You know what has really sweet fucking names for everything, not even just like ships and stuff like that? The Halo series. Like the Halo universe has such like the cool, in my opinion, really awesome names. Like the ship that you're on in the beginning of Halo 1 is the Pillar of Autumn. Whenever you go onto that Covenant ship, it's the Truth and Reconciliation. Yeah, it's just like really cool naming in that series.
No, you're right. That game is awesome.
Like Truth and Reconciliation, that's like such a fucking heavy name.
Yeah, dude. That's why those levels were so hard for me to remember what happened. I was like,
there's a ship called there's a UNSC ship called Forward Unto Dawn. That's a badass name.
Dude, I hope that our first
if we get into space, we need to start naming shit awesome shit.
We need to name the first one the USS Enterprise though, for sure. Like we can't skip that. That's too good an opportunity.
There's actual like an actual like battleship in history that was called the Enterprise.
Well, I know we need. Well, I didn't know that, but we should. You still send one into space.
Yeah, probably so. Anyway, so we keep getting distracted.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so
nothing happps in these chapters.
Yeah, no. So yeah. I mean, the mind can.
The only real discussion that's going to happen is when we talk about how we feel about the ending, really.
Yeah.
So So
that was the end chapter.
The ship. The ship's
sorry, we're still on 30. Yeah.
And so then, protagonist, having been catching these rumors about the war coming to closer and closer, is already thinking about things to do if it happens. Mm-hmm. Being an old vet, he is of that mindset, and so he already has a plan. His plan is that he gets Claire and Cricket to go into one of the life pods, locks it behind them, and then smashes the keypad so they can't unlock it. He tricks them into basically getting jettisoned off, and then he gets into his own life pod so that he can go try to distract the enemy ship long enough for them to go hide in the asteroid field.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that could work, but Dude,
so,
doesn't seem like the most solid plan, but whatever.
Well, I mean, what else are they going to do?
It's either that
they have no weapons.
Yeah, no, it's
either that or
wait.
get blown up.
Exactly.
Because it's like the only thing that he's been able to come up with. So that's what he does. They go. He convinces Claire to follow through with the plan. At that point, what is she going to do? She's going to chase after his life pod and her shit life pod? Like, not going to change anything.
It does mention that he can hear Cricket's thoughts, like kind of super freaking out and sad, and then he feels like he can hear Claire's thoughts, but he's probably just imagining things. It's not the first time
he can still see her at that point, so he can see her screaming and yelling at him, like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
So then he goes off in his lifeboat and starts heading towards the Reaper, trying to make it look like he's trying to get around it and try to like make a sneaky escape or whatever. And then at the last second, does this like maneuver where he crashes the picking arm into the Reaper ship, hoping that it does anything. And what it ends up doing is crashing up his ship enough that he gets sucked out into space. And then the chapter ends.
Yeah, it
we assume we're being led to believe that he dies.
He talks a little bit too before that about just the reef. Typical reef operation is to, when you go into these areas, if you control one of the beacons, you control that sector basically. So the plan was either to abduct one and blow up the other, abduct both. There were so many plans, but it was basically they need at least one of the beacons, and then they'll own that zone. But so Protag's out in space. And then chapter 31.
Yep, chapter 31 starts with him waking up. He's waking up on Beacon 23.
Oh god, yeah, it had the cheesiest line too. It said, "To wake each morning is a surprise. Each day to be alive is a miracle." Right. We should always live like that.
You're right. He wakes up in Beacon 23. Rocky's back,
and the Reef Lord shows himself. Just a whole bunch of people are here.
Yeah. So, Rocky's back. He's talking to him. It's Rocky that wakes him up. And then Rocky that he's talking to, which is, of course, just himself. There's a Reef Lord standing in front of him. There's some interaction where the Reef Lord is talking to him. The Reef apparently talk telepathically.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of alludes to... It made sense to me just because they were always talking about them being bug-like, and then it said the hives, so I would imagine that there'd be some sort of... I don't know why, I just imagine telepathic. I don't think bees communicate telepathically, do they? They do with
nothing communicates telepathically so far as we know.
Yeah, I guess we can't sense that. That'd be so cool if they did, though. Anyway, shoot, I had a point with that, but doesn't matter.
So there's some very basic conversation going on where they're, having a first conversation. The Protag obviously doesn't speak this way typically, so he's learning how to accept the incoming language into his thoughts and to project his thoughts back out for a conversation.
He's kind of like mouthing it, but not really speaking. And he can't move either. He's fully bound. Like he can't move his arms or anything. Can't even really twist his neck.
It's during this interaction that the Reef reveals to him that he's the one that opened him up during the last battle, because who fucking cares?
Yeah, he like epically touches his scab.
And it matches the fucking scar.
Yeah,
it's like,
I don't think
so
that's how it would
fucking
work.
Needless. There's literally no point to this except for somebody who's never read any book or watched any movie or anything where something comes together at the end.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
we didn't need all
this
that.
This is like this is so needless and dumb. And it doesn't, and the reason that I say it's needless and dumb is because it doesn't contribute to anything.
Yeah.
Usually a reveal like that will at least contribute to something and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense for this or whatever.
It didn't really add anything.
But,
it was just like, that's the guy
except
that he
for
saw
literally
before.
somebody to be like, it's the guy.
It's the guy.
So there's that reveal, and then
the Reef he puts his hand on his face after that, because and he sort of like Vulcan mind melds him,
so that he can give him more information more efficiently, I guess.
It seems like
for the purpose of storytelling more than anything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To like sort of reveal to him all the different things about him being part of like a resistance among the Reef. And then there's also obviously resistance among the humans that want the war to end, and they found each other and are working together a little bit here and there.
That was really cool.
So these were the friends that Scarlet spoke of that were going to come pick them up.
Yeah, we never would have thought they'd be Reef.
Right?
So how cool is that?
Yeah, he says that he knew Scarlet, and they have a plan for ending the war. Like they have an idea of something that they think can end the war, and they need him to do it. and all this stuff or whatever.
He said he learned about the invasion. So there's like a huge fleet of humans that are invading. Well, the through Reef Sector 8, and they're gonna invade.
It's gonna be the that's like the largest offensive that the humans have put up so far.
Exactly,
and the Reef found out about it.
Traitor.
For whatever reason.
Among us. Scarlet. Is she a traitor? I'm just kidding. Sorry.
I mean, yeah, she is. Whether it was her or not, I don't think they say. But for whatever reason, the Reef know about the incoming invasion, so they're also mounting an equal, if not greater, force. Yeah. Which we find out is apparently a greater force by numbers later on.
Yeah,
to fight them. Yeah. And so they found this as an opportunity to end the war. I think he calls it a sudden deceleration. Of hostility.
That sounds right. He can kind of feel Claire and Cricket are there with him. Like he can hear their thoughts or kind of feel them around him. He knows that they're gagged.
Yeah, all of a sudden he knows that they're there. And
the last sentence of this chapter was, "I weep into the palm of my enemy." So he's basically
because he still hasn't reconciled with them being like, we want your help, because he's not really listening yet.
Yeah, he's still kind of freaking out.
And so then he realizes that Claire and Cricket are there and being held hostage too, and so then he's just like, we're fucked, we're gonna die.
He should have realized, they didn't get away. They saved him from space. Like, he should have realized they don't have completely evil intent, right?
Well, the last time he was that close to a reef, it tried to kill him.
But this one saved him. Well, same guy. Never mind. I can see it being scary still.
So the chapter ends with him, being more or less broken, because the whole point of his plan was to hope that Claire and Cricket could get away, and they weren't able to.
Yeah. At the beginning of chapter 32, he thinks really loudly, kind of yelling at him, let them go.
Yeah. I'll do whatever your plan is, just let them go.
Yeah, I'll do whatever you want.
And so then this is when the Reef start to detail the plan.
Yeah, and he speaks like Scarlet too. He says, "Only you can end this," which is exactly what Scarlet said.
The plan is to shut down the GWBs and the beacons there, so that the approaching human fleet destroys itself in the asteroid field, and then the Reef will do the same on their end for their fleet, so that both fleets become obliterated, and it does enough damage to both sides of the war that they're just like, okay, well, this was so much that we need to just stop. Yeah, is their theory.
A super epic casualty or whatever, and it's going to end the war, which I don't... Dude, that doesn't make any sense. Why would that end the war? If anything, I feel like that just piss everybody off.
We don't know how much, like what the percentage of the total army each side is putting into this.
True.
All that they've said is that this is the largest human offensive that's been done yet, and the Reef are going to answer in kind.
And he thinks something about 500 million lives. Right?
It's going to total out to be 500 million. Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
So if that's, let's say, 90% of the total forces on either side, then what are you going to fight with at that point?
Yeah. So no, that's true.
I get the idea.
I mean, it's an even trade,
but they don't tell us what the percentage is.
Yeah.
If it's only 30% of each side's army, then no, that's not going to end anything.
No, but this is probably like
they're telling us that this is big enough that it's going to end everything.
Yeah, this is supposed to be like the final fight, I guess, and then they're just going to end by killing everybody.
Yeah.
But so it was kind of just like ending on like that's our even trade, dun dun dun.
And so then there's a lot of at this point the Reef bring Claire into focus for the protag, bringing her in front of him and ungag her so that they can talk. And they're going back and forth about whether or not to go through. Protag explains the plan to Claire first.
Yeah,
and then Claire's like, "Don't fucking do that. What's wrong with you? Like, why would you do that? Blah blah blah." And then they're just going back and forth about doing it or not doing it. Why the protagonist thinks maybe we should do it. Like he's being swayed by the idea because it sort of fits in line with what he's already wanted, more or less. We've already talked about how he's sick of war.
He probably wanted
sort of thing. He's seen all the bad stuff. He couldn't do the annihilation.
That's what I was gonna say. He probably wanted a chance to redeem himself too for not being able to, for being a fake war hero. Basically, he probably wanted to redeem that and end it for real. So I bet this, thinking that this was.
I don't think it's a redemption. I think it's just that it's already in line with what he did that day, which is to end the war. To be against the violence, to not be able to handle, or to be totally against everything that's happened with the war and what's going to continue happening with the war, which is part of the justification. There's a part during the justification chapter, which is the next chapter, where he says something like, and how many more lives will continue to be lost if the war goes on.
Yeah.
which could potentially be untold depending on how long the war continues to go on. If it goes on for another couple of decades, it could be billions more.
Yeah.
So at least in my opinion, I think it's an idea that's already in line with his belief that, and certainly now that he's learned to forgive himself for feeling that way, because he hated himself for not doing the nuke.
Right.
Hated that he was celebrated for being a war hero when he didn't do what he considered to be the right thing, because he was still like in the good soldier mindset.
Yeah.
But now that he's learned to forgive himself and accept that he didn't want to set off that nuke on the unborn reef, that it was okay to feel that way, and maybe it was the right way to feel.
Yeah.
So now he gets to be like, you know what, I can continue in this line of thinking that I've decided is the correct way to be about the war.
Yeah. In chapter, was that in 33 or are we on 33?
That's pretty much all that happened. Yeah, they explain the plan. He talks with Claire about it. They go back and forth about doing it or not doing it.
Yeah, he
That's
basically has to convince himself that killing half a billion people is cool.
Yeah, chapter 33 is just all forced justification for murdering 500 million people.
Oh, but fun fact, we learned that the protagonist is also an empath, so that's fun.
Yeah, he comes to a realization that he can probably hear Cricket, because maybe Cricket's a bit part empath as well. He doesn't really know a whole lot about the weapons anyway, so who knows. But it certainly is enhanced by him being partially empathic, which would explain why he heard Claire whenever they were separated by the blast door, which would explain why he
can talk to the reef.
Yeah, that he's able to talk with the reef a little bit more fluidly. That's why Claire didn't know the plan either. She didn't know why he's able to react to the GWB, probably.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, because it did affect Cricket too when he was up there, and Cricket we think is an empath, so it hit him pretty good too.
Yeah, yeah. It either affects Cricket or it's just that Cricket was totally like frozen up because he didn't like Zero G. There's more than once that he talks about how Cricket never got used to Zero G.
Yeah,
but I mean, it probably a little bit of both or whatever. But there's definitely little breadcrumbs that were being left throughout a couple of things that now come together with him probably being a bit empathic because of what happened during the war, where he got opened up by the reef, and something happened during that interaction that imparted some level of telepathy.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect, opened up his mind to space magic or whatever it is that's going on.
So, so what happened? What did he do, Will? What did he do?
He ends up. We spend an entire chapter of him thinking to himself about it, convincing Claire that it's the right thing to do,
telling her he loves her. They went over that a lot.
Yeah, and just going over a bunch of justifications for why it should be done. It's all very cheap and forced. And it's a total left turn from everything that was happening in the story.
Yeah,
prior to
part of the cheap and forcedness, like you said, was probably when he's like, he looks at the Reef Lord and he's like, "I'm trusting you," and then the Reef Lord does this like foreign hand signal to like show, like, "You got it, buddy," or whatever.
Yeah, that was just cheesy.
Yeah, it was just whatever. I mean, like, I get it. I mean,
but like all the justifications that they give during this is just like the stupidest, cheapest justification. There's nothing convincing in this chapter. It's all the same idealistic reasons that we have heard the hippies shout during protests in every story and reality for decades at this point.
Yeah, he basically kind of comes to the conclusion that he wants to do it. He's going to do, if Claire doesn't want him to, but he thinks it's the right choice. He's
decided it's the right thing.
Yeah, he's going to do it for Hank. He's going to do it for him.
If that's all that it was, I would be more fine. I would be okay with it. I'd be fine. I would accept it if it was just like, I believe, if it was about him believing it was the right thing to do, not all these generic justifications for doing it.
Right.
Then I would be much better. I would be way more reconciled with it.
Yeah, it's sort of kind of trying to make him seem kind of like guru-y, like very.
A lot of
I'm doing this for the greater good.
I think the main problem that I have with it is that none of it sounds like him anymore.
Yeah.
Very quickly, this sounds like the author taking an opportunity to spout whatever message he wants to get across.
He kind of does that a lot throughout the series, it seems like, because definitely he'll go off on these rants. Like the fucking Monday rant. Dude, we didn't need to know he hated Mondays. But I know that he thought about that. Like, he probably went through a work week and was just like, man, I sure do prefer Fridays to Sundays. I wonder why. And then he fucking wanted to write half a chapter about it. So
right? Yeah, like, maybe so. But yeah,
it was fine. I mean, we're talking about it still, so you got the point out there, I guess. But
this section of the Beacon 23 anthology is just not in continuity with the rest of the anthology, in my opinion, and with the character.
I mean, to be honest with you, I know we just kind of were ragging on it a little bit, but I think that chapter 33, the last chapter that's numbered, I think it was probably my favorite chapter, just because we spent so much time with the protagonist that, like, you know, we know his train of thought, we know about him. I mean, I know we just said that, like, he kind of seems to have changed, but I mean, I was willing to accept that Claire kind of made him change, that he saw the greater good of ending both fleets. He saw the good in trusting this reef, you know. There, you know, I think there are a few lines in there that just made it really cool for me. At the very end, I think he said, "They'll kill me for this when I deserve a medal." And then he did it.
See, that's trash.
And then the ships explode in a glorious eruption of peace.
That's trash.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Maybe I was just like, fucking in the moment. Who knows? But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I mean, as cheesy
I have nothing
as it was,
but problems with this chapter.
I was going to say,
it's
as cheesy as it
bad
was,
for me.
I enjoyed it still. I guess I like the cheesy.
It just makes no sense because the whole thing is that he couldn't set off the nuke because he couldn't kill
a hive.
Like all these... I guess it does get described as like, you know, an unborn reef that hasn't had the chance to do wrong, but the soldiers that he are killing are just soldiers. They're there on orders, and they're there reacting to stuff that, like, they talk about how the attack on Delphi by the reef was unprompted and awful, and so that's why he enlisted. And then he just decides that he's going to kill 500 million people.
Heroes on both sides, like the Reef Warriors are fighting for their like freedom or whatever, and then I don't even know what we're fighting for, land.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's never.
we're warring about something, and we're fighting for peace, I guess.
So it's just completely incongruous with everything that the character has said, aside from literally wanting the war to end. That's the only thing that sticks.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Everything else is not like him at all, and all the growth that was, and it's just not congruous in with the story, in my opinion, because the whole time it's about him facing his demons and getting over it, and then just all of a sudden, no, we're going to save the universe.
Yeah, Claire fixed him real fast.
We're going to have a what's the word I'm thinking about? We're going to
mass genocide.
There's going to be a God damn it, what's the word that I'm looking for? I'll never think of it. Yeah, we're just gonna. There's all this, you know, personal growth and getting over his demons and blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden, this last chapter, story's gonna save the universe in this war that we've only just heard about in the context of him facing himself, not in the context of caring about the war.
Yeah, we were never in the war. I mean, we heard about it, but
and then also ending the war will serve as a vehicle for the author to make a political statement about war in real life, because that's all that this is.
So Will had a little piece in his Kindle book that was like a little...
In the written edition, or the written edition, this is the Kindle edition. In the physical published edition, which gets transcribed to digital for the Kindle, there's a note from the author after the last chapter.
Fun.
And it's gross. So here it is. I know it is fiction to imagine, but what would happen if we stood on the rubble of attacks against us? Whether literal or figurative, physical or emotional, personal or political, and we chose to forgive rather than escalate. What does that world look like? Maybe we'll never know, but I like to pretend. It's just the same shitty, shallow sentiment that John Lennon's Imagine has.
Dude, it's like you didn't have to tell us the theme of the book. We got it. We get it.
And then even his note is incongruous with what happened.
Exactly.
He talks about not escalating something when he just had his hero murder 500 million people and then sanctifies him for doing so.
Yeah, dude. It's just like, I mean, whatever. And then... Anyway, the epilogue, he's that lighthouse from the photo, he finds it in real life, and he's
paying to have it rebuilt.
Yeah, he's rebuilding it. It's showing peace among different species. They introduce a new alien race, which I thought was kind of weird. The 2 Hokos, 3 humans, and a Wraith pilot are fixing the lighthouse.
It's just to show that there's a crew of diversity now. Yeah. To symbolize the fact that there's peace.
It's like, dude, we should have met a Hoko. We should, like, the ninja should have been a Hoko, in my opinion.
That would have been better writing for the ninja to be a Hoko, just even in passing to be like, and then I noticed that she was a Hoko.
The bounty hunter or whatever could have been a Hoko. You know,
just like, anything to be inconsequentially a Hoko, so that it can come back at the end and be like, oh, so yes, this is an alien race that we've met before.
Yeah, I know the Hoko.
As opposed to just being pretty, pretty clearly something that's been put in place just so we can see that now there's diversity in the universe, and they're all on Earth doing something. Imagine that. Yeah,
basically it's like the picture perfect ending. It's like the Twilight ending. Did you read Twilight?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's an ending kind of like that. Everybody's happy. It's
everybody gets everything there.
Perfect.
The protag is a hero and he's governor of Earth. Claire is pregnant. Cricket is chasing something in the grass. They're watching the lighthouse from the picture be restored by a crew of several alien races because now peace is here thanks to 500 million murdered people.
Yeah, and then it does this stupid-ass line at the end where he whispers his name. Oh, because Claire wants to name their baby after him, their little boy.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, maybe my son can bring pride to my name, make my name proud. And then so he whispers his name to Claire.
But he gets caught in the wind or some shit.
Yeah, he says he gets caught in the wind and blown away and lost forever. So does he not name the baby after him?
No, there's just... no, it's just... forced. He's just trying to make this book deeper than it is.
Yeah, he doesn't want us to know the freaking
because
name.
Maybe that hero could be any of us, Jordan.
Oh.
Fuck this book.
Yeah.
Everything was decent enough. I was mildly invested in the character, or at least I liked the character enough. I was interested in the battle with his demons and him finding a way to overcome it. And then all of a sudden he overcomes it with no effort, and then it takes a huge left turn and has nothing to do with what the rest of the book was about. Yeah,
dude, the ending almost just sounded like he died and went to heaven, man. It didn't even sound like a realistic ending for the way the book was going. I just straight up thought maybe he's dead, because like, I mean, I don't think he is, but...
It just fell apart. And I wonder if maybe...
I don't know.
I'm just mad because of the way it made me feel in the moment, but maybe he wrote this final section of this anthology when he was already not invested in it anymore. In the same way that Christopher Paolini wrote Inheritance.
Yeah.
And it was considerably worse than the others.
I thought Brissinger was worse than Inheritance.
I'm sorry. Yeah, not Inheritance. Brissinger, you're right.
Yeah.
Or whatever the last one is.
Inheritance is the last one.
Oh, and then Inheritance.
Yeah,
I thought Brissinger...
it just felt like filler.
Brissinger was definitely the climax of it. It being the climax of this, or like the build up. Mm-hmm. So it's supposed to be like the I don't know. I can't come up with a good analogy right now.
I don't know. I get what you mean though. He kind of lost his fucking drive for the story. I think he probably lost the investment.
He wrote the Aragon, and he was it was a new thing, so he was all about it. And then he writes Eldest, and it's great.
Oh yeah.
And then Brissinger comes out, and it's already at that point that he's starting to get longer and longer between finishing each book, and everybody's pressuring him to do it. It was supposed to
be a trilogy too,
and I think I wrote or at least in the edition of Inheritance that I got, there was a several page forward from him that talked about the process of what was happening, and as he was writing, Brissinger realized that he wasn't going to be able to get everything that he thought he needed to.
There were so many loose ends.
Break it into 2 books when he was already struggling to write the one book with he was already falling out of love with the story or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And everybody was pressuring him to finish it because everybody loved them.
Man.
And so then by the end of it, he just kind of phoned it in.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what happened here, which I totally get. If you fall out of love with a story that you've been writing, cool. Don't phone it in.
Yeah, dude, I hope that doesn't happen with Game of Thrones. I mean, I get it, but I mean...
George R. R. Martin's gonna die. He's doing literally anything but write that book. There's
I mean, I don't want
videos of him writing segues and shit. Just get inside your house and write that book.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for not pressuring authors to hurry up and get their book out.
That is absolutely true.
I'm all for that because you don't want to force creativity because then you don't get the.
It's gonna end up trash anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be trash. Yeah, so but I don't know. Maybe he was forced because he was sitting there like, shit, I gotta write a 5th book. Let me just end the whole thing right now, real quick.
But then at the same time, it's not like anything was it was the final chapter of the Beacon 23 anthology in such high demand that he had to write this. Absolutely not.
Yeah, no. I mean, honestly, it felt to me kind of like a version of Ender's Game. I don't know if you. I mean,
I haven't read it. Yeah. I haven't seen the movies either.
Great book. I really enjoyed the movies as well. I'm not too judgmental on movies, though. I'm a real good audience member. I had realized that. I did honestly like.
You buy in.
I'm just
ready for whatever ride. Well,
yeah. I mean, I paid for the movie. I want to enjoy the movie. Don't sit there and ruin it. I think I'm
usually that way with movies as well, unless something is egregious and I can't get over it, which does happen.
I mean, I
don't always know if I'm picky or not. Maybe I'm. Sometimes I'll be like, man, I'm fucking picky about this sort of stuff. And then I'll watch some trash movie and be like, I had a great time watching that trash movie. I'm not picky.
Yeah.
And then next week I'm super picky about something.
I mean, and you got to take a lot of liberties too when you put something on the silver screen, as they say. Is it still silver on the silver screen?
No.
Yeah, on the big screen. All in all, I enjoyed it. I mean, I was, like you said, it was kind of, I guess, an obvious ending. Maybe it was sort of anticlimactic. It rushed. I don't know. But it was worth the read. Probably won't pick it up again. But,
no.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think? No? Not worth it?
I don't think that there's very few things that end up not being worth having done. Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to intaking media, at least in my opinion, there's very little media of any form that's not worth taking in. Because even if it's bad, you then are able to, you have a greater informed opinion for things that are good.
Exactly, yeah, you still grow no matter what from reading this.
So I don't think that that it wasn't worth it. It was definitely disappointing at the end.
Okay.
I would, like anything, you always wish for something to be great, right? Mm-hmm. Certainly, because you want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. I ended up not liking it, but I don't regret it.
Yeah. I enjoyed it, but like I just said, I'm not going to read it again. I don't think I got it. I got the message.
There's always a chance that looking back on it, I could end up with a different interpretation later on if I think about it again and suddenly have a new realization or something like that. I mean, I don't think so. It was pretty transparent what happened. But in the same way that I had some problems at the end of Neverwhere, I not that we're super far removed from it at this point, but I'm able to look back more fondly on it.
Yeah.
One, now because of how disappointing this book was, and then two, because I can disregard some of the small issues that I had with it. Because the issues that I had with the ending of Neverwhere weren't really that big.
Yeah.
There was just some consistency issues that I had, and then it was mostly just small consistency issues.
Yeah.
The overall story was good.
Yeah.
And then I was totally bought into the universe and those characters. Mm-hmm. So I can, looking back, just remember how much I enjoyed that universe and the characters and the overall story.
Yeah, it was fun.
So I definitely enjoy looking back on it more than I felt at the moment that we ended it,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe looking back, we'll be like, oh, that was a fun book. Maybe I will read it again. But in the moment, I'm just like, no, it's probably not one that I'm just going to go.
I might be able to at least look back and be like, I remember the parts of it that I do like.
Yeah.
Which was mostly towards the beginning and then some in the middle. This stuff with Scarlet was annoying.
Yeah, Scarlet was kind of an annoying
obviously,
little rebel character.
We've already talked it almost to death about the way we feel about the end. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, it sounded like they were just a bug race, and then we all got along at the end. Cool.
You gotta love bugs. They have a purpose, unless they're ants and mosquitoes.
Yeah, no, I would not like.
I think the ants actually. I'll take that back. Mosquitoes can be eliminated from the ecosystem, and it wouldn't have an effect. They're theorizing. They obviously don't know until it happens. Ants would have an effect. There's just way too fucking many of them.
We probably wouldn't get enough. Deaths without mosquitoes. We'd overpopulate the earth.
We're already doing that.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's already happened.
That's so awful to think too. Just we need mosquitoes to kill people.
We need something stronger than mosquitoes.
Yeah, no, I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
But I guess we said we were going to pick a book at the end of this episode, but we didn't end up going and looking for books. So we're not going to do that. We're going to.
We kind of planned for what we're going to end up doing anyways.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is we're going to pick a book for next week's episode. Next week's episode will be a dedicated episode for talking about a book and picking it.
Exactly.
Which works out because both of us are going to be out of town for periods of time next week for weddings. Mm-hmm. You're going down to Mexico for your cousin's wedding. I'm going to be busy over the weekend, the next weekend.
Yeah.
The weekend after the one you're going away for a friend's wedding. So it'll be more difficult for us to be reading a book and try to record an episode during all that. So what we're going to do is, with a little bit of editing magic, talk to you from even further in the past than usual by recording next week's episode after this.
Yeah, we're parting the kimono a little bit. You're getting behind the scenes.
Parting the kimono?
Yeah, you part your kimono and everybody sees the goods. Yeah, just we're parting the kimono. You guys are seeing behind the scenes.
Those were like two different sayings put into one. I got what you meant, but you're combining two different things.
But anyway, yeah, check us out on Twitter and Instagram at ears_stamps. Please tell your friends. Vote us.
Vote us.
No, give us the best rating you want to give us on iTunes. Ideally 5 of the 5 stars. We could use any ratings you give. Tell your friends. We love our support. You know, we love you guys. So. we need y'all to spread the word. If you guys think anybody you know would enjoy it, please tell anybody about it. And we need ideas for books. This next week we're gonna try and branch out and maybe even do like a mystery or a.
Well, none of your suggestions will get to us for this coming week because we're about to record that episode.
Yeah, but we still want suggestions for the next one. But
give us suggestions for future books.
Yeah, and we'll definitely take them. And if y'all want to hear a one-off episode about the Harry Potter series or anything, just let us know. We'd love to do something like that. Books that we've read, books that maybe one of us has read and the other hasn't. You know, we'll take anything. We want to grow with you guys. So let us know what you think, and you know, it's been fun.
New England just had like a 60-yard pick six.
I don't know what that means.
So a pick six is when you catch an interception and then run it back for a touchdown, which is 6 points.
Oh.
So that's why they call it a pick six. You pick it and then you run it in for 6 points.
You pick it and
it was also from from the other side of the fucking field. It was pretty incredible.
But yeah, well.
Also, Buffalo just sucks. So, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we'll see y'all next week.
Yeah.
Bye. Later. Fucking Devin McCourty, dude. What a fucking...
How long do we do?
What a fucking corner. We are at...